Annie Carney, is this the counter narrative strategy to impeachment? Is this the rapid response to Ambassador Taylor's testimony?
Well, it certainly looks like that. The timing-wise, the news of this breaks a few days after by far the most damning witness that's testified yet in Congress, Bill Taylor, who kind of outlined exactly that there was a quid pro quo between giving aid to the Ukrainians and getting political dirt in return. And then this comes out. So, yes, it does look like this is a calculated counter narrative to help the president when there is not a lot to do in terms of the substance of what is coming out in these witnesses are telling. There's not a lot to counter in terms of the substance of the story in Ukraine.
Lanhee Chen, we have you on tonight knowing you are a veteran of Republican politics. And so I ask you, how can the Republicans argue with a straight face that this is a secret proceeding, that it's a kangaroo court, when fully a third of the Republicans in Congress qualify by dint of their committee assignments to the committees who have been in on these closed-door depositions?
Well, look, Brian, the hypocrisy that we see here is not new in politics, unfortunately. I wish that there was another argument for it, but there really isn't. Look, the process argument for Republicans now really comes down to how much longer they can sort of sustain this, given that public hearings are going to begin. The reporting out there is that we're going to see public hearings on impeachment in mid-November. I do think there is a prudential argument. There is a reason why Democrats might want to open some of this up, because it creates more of a nonpartisan feel to all of it. It inoculates them a little bit against the argument that it's a partisan witch hunt, as the president has said. So I think there might be reasons why Democrats want to consider that side of the argument. That having been said, look, hypocrisy abounds depending on whether it works for one party or not. And I think we're seeing that very visually in the argumentation around the process surrounding the impeachment hearings now.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.